Hi, I'm Certified Personal Property Appraiser Dave Maloney, author of Appraising Personal Property, Principles and Methodology. This video is another in a series of hot topic discussions for the Personal Property Appraiser. To see all my videos, visit my YouTube channel at youtube.com/asktheappraiser. Note that throughout these hot topic discussions, I often make reference to USPAP. USPAP is an acronym for the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice and is promulgated by the Appraisal Foundation of Washington, D.C. The goal of USPAP, which is updated biennially, is to maintain public trust in the appraisal profession. For more information about USPAP, visit appraisalfoundation.org. In this hot topic discussion, I'll talk about the underlying theory that pertains to determining loss of value, or as some refer to it, diminution of value or diminished value. A determination of loss of value is often the purpose of transit-related or casualty loss damage claims appraisals. With such assignments, you must develop an opinion of loss of value only after careful consideration of several factors as they relate to the specific assignment. This discussion will help you better understand those factors. I first wrote the article on which this discussion is based in the mid-1990s. As is often the case when discussing the worth of personal property, this discussion takes into consideration whether a property is appreciating or depreciating in nature. So, let's review the differences to ensure we're all on the same page before continuing on with our discussion of loss of value. Appreciable property encompasses types of property that historically have increased in value over time, such as most types of antiques and certain types of collectibles. Depreciable property, on the other hand, includes those types of property which historically go down in value over time, such as modern refrigerators, sofas, vacuum cleaners, dining tables, and floor lamps. But an often overlooked characteristic that differentiates appreciable from depreciable property, and that plays an important role in this discussion, is the method with which the property can be suitably replaced, should that be necessary. Appreciable property cannot be suitably replaced with a brand new property. Appreciable property can only be replaced with a comparable property, a property that is comparable in terms of type, age, quality, authorship, condition, and that has other value-relevant characteristics that are comparable to those of the property that is being replaced. You do not replace an 18th century tall case clock with a brand new grandfather's clock purchased from a local furniture store. The replacement must be a comparable vintage clock having similar characteristics as that being replaced. Appreciable property has value-relevant characteristics related to age and collectability which simply cannot be replicated in a replacement property that is brand new. Depreciable property, on the other hand, can and normally is suitably replaced with a brand new property that is of like kind, quality, and utility, or is a new upgraded item if the original model is out of production. It would not make sense for the insured to have a 3-year-old sofa that was destroyed in a fire replaced with another 3-year-old sofa. Instead, an insured having a common replacement coverage policy would be entitled to a brand new sofa should it need to be replaced. Whether the subject property is appreciable or depreciable will play an important role in our discussion of loss of value, thus the need to be clear regarding the differences between the two. Now on to loss of value. As noted earlier, a determination of the loss of value or diminution of value or diminished value, whatever you choose to call it, of damaged personal property is most frequently required in order to arrive at a fair and timely settlement of a transit-related damage claim or a casualty loss damage claim. Damage that is transit-related might occur during a household goods shipment. Casualty loss damage could be caused by flood, fire, earthquakes, in-home accidents, vehicular accidents, or some similar man-made or natural disaster. In any of these scenarios, the appraiser might be asked to offer an opinion of loss of value for the affected personal property. Yet there is no task more onerous to the appraiser than attempting to assign a loss of value to an item of personal property which, having suffered damage, has been professionally repaired and must now be evaluated for possible diminished value. Loss of value is an opinion of the amount of value that an item of personal property has lost due to it having been damaged, taking into consideration the quality of subsequent repairs or replacements. By the way, a replacement is simply a substitution. For example, an old marble dresser top might require replacement with a new piece of marble if the original was broken beyond repair during a move. Loss of value reflects the reduced level of market acceptability of the damaged, albeit professionally repaired item. It can be thought of as the amount a seller would have to discount the asking price of a repaired item in order to induce a sale to a buyer who has knowledge of the repair. Mathematically, loss of value equals the difference in market value prior to damage and the market value after the damage has been repaired. Note that an accurate loss of value determination cannot be made until repairs have been completed. Obviously, a damaged table with a broken leg has suffered some decrease in worth by the mere fact that it can no longer serve its intended purpose. Any remaining value, while still in damaged condition, is referred to as salvage value. The appraiser can offer an opinion of salvage value while the property remains in damaged condition. But can loss of value be determined while the property remains in damaged condition? Well, the answer is yes and no. By making use of a USPAP-defined hypothetical condition that repairs have been completed, and by making USPAP-defined extraordinary assumptions about the quality of those hypothetical repairs, it is possible to provide an opinion of loss of value in advance of repairs actually being made. But to form the most accurate opinion of if and to what extent loss of value has occurred, one must wait until after the repairs have actually been completed in order to accurately gauge the quality of the repairs and the final appearance and condition of the item. Loss of value is subjective and difficult to determine. Whereas replacement cost can be based on well-documented asking prices, and market value can be based on well-documented past sales of comparable items, loss of value cannot be determined so precisely. To be able to do so, one would have to find a duplicate comparable item which was in the same pre-damage condition, which suffered the same type of damage, which underwent the same degree and quality of repair, and which subsequently had a post-repair appearance identical to the repaired item in question. The possibility of this occurring simply does not exist in real life. Nor, by the way, are there any formulas or percentages which can be applied to determine loss of value. An example of such a faulty technique is to assign a loss of value that is equal to the percentage of the article's surface area that was disturbed during the repair, multiplied by the market value of the item, assuming it was in undamaged condition. In order to determine loss of value, each item must be considered individually in light of the following three criteria to determine if a loss of value has even occurred. Once a loss of value has been deemed to have occurred, an estimate of the amount of loss of value must then be made. The following three criteria must be met before a loss of value can be deemed to have occurred. Here's criteria number 1. With few exceptions, such as automobiles, which I'll mention again shortly, in order to even be considered for loss of value, the repaired item must be of the type which appreciates in value, such as do most antiques and collectibles. Depreciable property, such as sofas, coffee tables, televisions, and most other common household items, will not normally suffer any loss of value if a competent repair is effected. For instance, a discount furniture store dining table, of which there is no great scarcity, is considered to be depreciable property. If its top is gouged, it will not suffer any loss of value if the damage is professionally repaired. Having said that, while no loss of value has been suffered, an appearance allowance or a goodwill allowance might be in order to placate the owner, but no loss of value occurs. Why? Because the repair has restored the item's level of marketplace desirability to its original level. In other words, the marketplace's expectation of an acceptable level of like-new or pre-damage condition has been restored. Consequently, no loss of value has occurred. By the way, I mentioned appearance allowance and goodwill allowance. An appearance allowance is a type of cash settlement offered when the transit-related damage is not very severe and does not detract from the utility of the object or significantly from its appearance. Usually, repair attempts would not be successful or would be impractical or uneconomical. In such a case, the owner keeps the item, but is compensated with an appearance allowance for the damage incurred. An appearance allowance can also be offered when the repair is less than perfect. A goodwill allowance is a term used in the claims industry to describe a cash payment made to the owner which compensates for what the industry considers to be only a perceived loss, damage, or inconvenience, but which the owner feels to be a real loss, damage, or inconvenience. To placate the owner, the insurance company or moving company could authorize an allowance to be paid as a gesture of goodwill, simply to settle the claim, while at the same time admitting no liability. An exception to this criteria of depreciable property not suffering loss of value involves automobiles and other titled motor vehicles. Because of the stigma associated with a vehicle that has been in a wreck, now well documented by services such as Carfax Vehicle Histories, almost every vehicle that has been involved in an accident and subsequently repaired suffers some level of inherent diminished value despite being categorized as depreciable property. By the way, it's been estimated that 55% of consumers would not buy a car that has been in an accident, and 81% would not purchase a car that has been in a wreck unless they were given a large discount. While a depreciable item will not usually suffer a loss of value, most items of appreciable property very well might. An early 19th century American Federal mahogany sideboard, classified as appreciating property, having a badly gouged top, would suffer loss of value despite an excellent repair. This is because in the upper stratosphere of high-valued and rare antiques, any deviations from original condition could have a severe impact on desirability among collectors and consequently would have a depressing effect on value. Let's discuss the second criteria. For there to be a loss of value, the damage and its associated repair must be of the type which is unacceptable to the marketplace, and which, therefore, would adversely affect the item's desirability. Many antique toys or pieces of antique ceramics and glass survive in virtually untouched condition. Therefore, collectors expect such pieces to be pristine. Any variation caused by damage, despite the quality of repair, diminishes value substantially. An antique rookwood vase that was broken and repaired will sustain a major loss of value. On the other hand, because of its hard use, pristine pieces of antique furniture are indeed rare. Consequently, old repairs to such pieces are commonplace. For the collector, minor new repairs expertly made usually cause little or no loss of value. Major repairs, though, could cause a significant loss of value. A repaired scratch on a 1915 round oak dining table would cause minimal, if any, loss of value. However, a broken and repaired leg on an early 19th century American federal game table would cause a significant loss of value, because while collectors may tolerate repairs to an early 20th century table, they are typically less accepting of repairs to an early 19th century table. Here is criteria number 3. For the newly repaired damage to affect value, the item must not have pre-existing damage or old repairs of the sort which would reduce or eliminate the adverse impact of subsequent and similar sorts of new damage. For instance, one additional chip to the rim of an American Brilliant Period, 1880 to 1910, cut glass punch bowl, which already had several pre-existing chips, would not cause any measurable loss of value. Similarly, an antique chair with several surface scratches will not suffer a loss of value due to the addition of yet one more scratch that has been repaired. Once again, while an appearance allowance or a goodwill allowance may be in order to pacify the owner, no loss of value can be shown to exist because collector desirability remains unchanged. Assuming the above 3 criteria have been met, 2 additional factors must be understood and taken into consideration in order to judge the relative degree of loss of value: the significance of the damage and the quality of the repair. Regarding the significance of the damage, while some damage might be considered major, much is not. Damages not considered major will have less of an impact on value than damages that are. Again, we must keep in mind the age and desirability of the piece in question, as well as consumer preferences regarding what is and is not acceptable. A repaired surface scratch or rub mark on a piece of antique furniture is normally not considered to be a major drawback and may cause no loss of value. Small sections of lost and replaced veneer, broken and repaired feet, or a properly restored gouge do have a small but noticeable impact on value. Major repairs, such as the complete replacement of a dresser drawer, or the replacement of a missing hand on a Meissen porcelain figurine, or the complete stripping of the finish of a tall case clock causing the loss of original surface patina, which is typically very desirable to the collector, will cause significant loss of value. Regarding the quality of the repair, invisible repairs using appropriate restoration techniques are vital to preserving the integrity and value of a damaged piece. Any deviation from this level of professionalism will impact adversely on the item's final value. In other words, loss of value will be inversely proportional to the quality of the repair. So, given all this, how does one arrive at a final opinion of loss of value? Well, there are no formulas for calculating loss of value, nor are there any meaningful comparable market data that can be used as a direct basis for an opinion of loss of value. Instead, the appraiser must use his or her best judgment to develop an opinion of loss of value that is based on an understanding of the marketplace and how appreciable and depreciable property is replaced, how sellers discount to encourage a sale, and what types of damages and repairs are and are not acceptable to the consumer. Let's review what we've covered in this hot topic discussion. If properly repaired, depreciable property almost never suffers from loss of value, one exception being motor vehicles that were involved in an accident. On the other hand, even if properly repaired, appreciable property might very well suffer from loss of value. Whether or not it will depends on if the type of damage and subsequent repair is acceptable within the marketplace, and on whether or not the property had pre-existing damages or repairs, which might minimize or even negate the effect of the new damages. If, after the repair has been made, it's determined that a loss of value has occurred, the amount of the loss of value will depend on the significance of the damage and the quality of the repair. This concludes this hot topic discussion. For several hundred pages crammed with how-tos for the personal property appraiser, get a copy of my book, Appraising Personal Property, Principles and Methodology, at appraisalcourseassociates.com.